Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I'm in conversation with James Fox, singer-songwriter and West End star. He's certainly got a story to tell. This is his latest single, The Rest of Our Lives.
The rest of our lives, we could be together for the rest of our lives. Nothing could be better for the rest of our lives. From now to forever for the rest of the best of the rest of our lives.
So James, a new song getting radio plays as well. Now it's been a tough year for most people with COVID. How did you manage to put this record together?
I think that is the only positive you can take out of this year. The fact that I was very fortunate to be gigging and working a lot, like most musicians over the last year. And then when that suddenly stopped, it's the only thing we had left. Was the creative process. So I'm very fortunate to have all this equipment here in the flats, and then just started doing one song, which led to like maybe another one, an EP maybe. And as the months and months, rolled on and nothing was changing, I thought, well, there we go. It's an album. As much as I think if you'd have told me to start, I had to do 12 songs on my own in this one room from start to finish, it would have been quite a daunting experience. But it just sort of went on and on and on, and the creative process just seemed to flow. And it was a struggle at times, but we got to the end of it.
And mentally, because I did the same thing. I've got a whole new album that I've recorded in my garden shed. I'm not sure if anybody will get to hear it, but it was something that I had to do to sort of keep my sanity.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's the only thing you can do, and I didn't realize it was helping me get through that time as well. Not just like with sanity, but with sort of therapeutic and cathartic, just sort of dealing with the problems or the anxieties and the fears that were being born out of this last year. I found that it was helping me sort of like every song was like a mini therapy session, like dealing with something that was on your mind, just write it out. And then that seemed to help as well. So it was sort of, as tough as a challenge is, as you know, to write and produce your own album in your own space. It's, I think it was a real cathartic experience for me.
Now, I know that you do play everything. Did you play? Obviously, but you can play the drums. But did you? Am I right in thinking that maybe it's not the right thing to do in a house like a normal house? Did you get them done somewhere else?
The neighbours are very accommodating, put it that way. They could hear the countless vocals going on. I did the vocals in the day, because obviously most of the things can be done with headphones on, and the pianos are all wired up, and guitars. You actually don't have to make a lot of noise these days. It's all done. You can do it on headphones to some degree, but the drums were where they drew the line. It's if I was hitting drums and you're underneath the flat upstairs, would have been a problem. So my mate in America, great guy from Long Island, I met on the Billy Joel tour I did in America and the Broadway show. He did the drums in Long Island. We just chatted like this, and then he sent them over. So yeah, amazing. He's got a proper studio, so I had that. It would have missed that live feel, obviously, for the drums. The rest you can kind of get away with, but the drums are really important, I think, to get live.
I mean, not bad for a boy from. Is it Bargoed? Where did it start?
Bargoed, yeah. How close you want to zoom in? Yeah.
Well, let's get it right, because I don't want to offend anybody. Where would you say you're from, really?
Let's say Bargoed.
Bargoed. We'll say Bargoed. Music in the house now. Was your dad a musician? Is that where he comes from?
Yeah, we just the jokes about drummers. Yes, but he was a drummer. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And my gran was a singer. My dad's a drummer, and very much involved in the working men's clubs and the sort of old English dancing and the guest cabarets and stuff. I was very much aware of that environment growing up. I'm going to be taken probably way too young an age to these pubs just to sit in the ante room on the side and watch him drum and just get that sort of musical experience from a very young age. So that surrounded by it, to be honest. So it was a foregone conclusion, I guess, what I was going to end up doing.
And did you take that step then into those clubs? Because you're probably at an age where it was just about coming to an end, the glory days of the clubs, but there was still a bit of work around.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think I did catch the end of it. You're right. I did 12 years of working with clubs, which if you've done those things as well. And I think that's an apprenticeship. If you come through that in one piece, it's puts you in good stead for the future, doesn't it? It's I did it from about 16, 17 to 27, 28. So it was a long apprenticeship. And I think it was sort of dying down. I think at the start it was very much you could work 7 nights a week. In different clubs and pubs, which as a solo entertainer, you still could at the end. But I mean, bands were getting work Thursday till Sunday. And then it just sort of got that the bands were only getting Saturdays and Sundays. So then I went out on my own for 5 nights. And in the end, it's just on your own. But it was a thriving community, and one you still call upon those experiences.
What sort of songs were you performing in the clubs and the pubs? Your own songs or were they covers?
No, that's the point. I never wrote songs in my younger days because I guess I was too busy making money in music, and I was doing all these covers. I used to look at these bands like, Stereophonics, Manic Street Preachers writing their own songs. What do they know? What a pointless exercise. They're not making any money. I was, I'd open up with like Frank Sinatra, then Elton John, Billy Joel, Neil Sedaka, all the usual, Tom Jones, the usual things that people would demand that you play before the bingo started,
I was actually chatting to Mike Doyle, who went through the same experience, but went in a very different direction to the one that you've gone in. But he says in Tom Jones' book, Tom Jones said, if you were good, they'd let you know. And if you weren't any good, they'd let you know. So good training ground. And you find, which buttons to press, to keep an audience entertained.
Yes, I think that's the art of working a room, of looking and thinking, I'm losing this, and it's... Yeah, I think I'm really. It was a tough time during it, thinking, is this ever going to end? Am I ever going to get another opportunity here in music at 27? That's a long time. But so grateful for that experience. I call upon it on every single gig. Okay,
so what was the break? What was the thing that sort of took you out of that and into a whole new world?
I think back 27, the Stage newspaper was out. That used to be the thing you used to get on a Thursday, sort of auditions for boy bands and things in London. And any sort of session jobs, really. So I've got in with, I got some session work when I was 27, playing for a band called Liberty X at the time. Things like Atomic Kitten, that sort of management in that area, to play acoustic guitar, say radio tours with these bands, which got me to sort of in with the managers of these bands, and they were like, you're quite good, but, don't really know what to do with you. So the opportunity to do audition for Fame Academy came up. And my then manager said, let's do this. So I guess that was the big break, getting to London, getting a manager, and then getting on that show, obviously, with 9 million people every Saturday watching. It's a great shop window to be in for anything, really.
Over 12,000 people auditioned in 6 major cities across the UK. The next selection show added 27-year-old Welshman James Fox.
It's official. You, the public, have had your say and voted in your millions to select the students of Fame Academy 2003. Here they are. We've all 13, and what a handsome bunch they are.
So, James, not all of us get a chance to look back on ourselves all those years ago. What do you think of that young man now, then?
It's funny, you recognize some sort of character traits, but it's I just see a very I don't know, it's a lot of sort of pent up aggression, I guess, musically, and sort of a lot of testosterone. 27, I've been doing workmen's clubs for maybe 12, 11 years at that point, and I get this big break, and I think I know better than anyone. I've played every night, all the worst gigs, that's known to man across the countries, and then you're faced with this very this music business that you've been dying to get into, these record company executives and these TV people, and you think, I know better than these people,
James.
Well, without sounding conceited, I've been watching myself on things like this for 12 years, and that's the best I've ever seen myself do anything. I'm well happy with that result. I'm slightly miffed by your comments, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'll go over them for you. The issue is the song is sung without any sensitivity. I don't understand where it's ultimately going. I think, it's always competent, but...
I just say, to sing something completely in tune with passion, I mean, what do you mean, where's it going?
Richard Parks, you didn't seem to get on terribly well with Richard, did you? And at the end, I thought he was quite nasty in the end. He seemed to have pent it all up and found a moment to really try and put you down.
Yeah, I think he'd be lost without me in that show. It seemed to get personal. That's what got my back up. I don't mind the criticism, if it's constructive, because David Grant was a big supporter, and he would say a bit out of tune there, or he didn't really give that wasn't great, but this bit, constructive, and maybe do this next time.
So I thought once you got to the chorus, I totally believed you. Up till then, it was a technical performance. And it was a very good technical performance. But that thing that we talked about weeks ago?
They didn't show me a lot of respect, and I picked up on that very early on. I got very defensive. So I kind of shut down. And like I mentioned before, the sort of musical content in the show was non-existent. It was a reality show, and they tested you to your limits. And they worked out with me that if they deprive me of certain things, I'd behave it's a human experiment, you know. That's what these shows are, very much. You know, it was run by Endemol that did Big Brother. So we were told it wouldn't be a human experiment, but as it went on, I could see it was. And, you know, they just, I played into their hands, really. I could see what they were doing. They deprive you of certain things, and I get wound up by it, and then that makes good television.
What did they deprive you of? Can you say?
Well, for example, say they promised that after the live show on a Saturday, they said, we'll have a bit of a party for you. We'll just put a couple of beers in the fridge, you know, you guys be able to relax and everything. And we had the Sunday morning off. And you'd finish the show, you get through, or you want to celebrate, and the fridge is empty. And you're like, you know, oh, come on. You know, I know it's you know, it seems absolutely minimal now, but when you're locked away and every room has got like 6 cameras in it, including the bathrooms, you know, you couldn't get a minute's privacy. So just those little moments of just release, and just to be, you know, just to take the pressure off for 5 minutes. They just tested you, and I thought it was more about music, and I realized it was you know, they're making a TV show, and it was very much a human experiment, like I said. And
You can't play as well as me, you can't write as well as me, you can't sing as well as me. I can do a performance like that after a few beers.
The following morning, James tries to backtrack, blaming the beers.
Up until 2 o'clock in the night, talking complete rubbish.
Yeah, I know you were.
I win. Yeah.
I wanted to learn. I was desperate to learn, desperate to get involved in this business. I'd done what I thought I could in the Welsh clubs and pubs, but I wanted to know the keys, the secrets to being like in a record deal, and you know, all these other things have been on TV, and they just left us in this big house to rattle around. They threw a piano in there. I was the only one that could play it, you know, and it was, I just felt, and the more they sort of supported the people that were, dare I say it, less musical, you know, they had great voices and a lot of talent, but they couldn't play instruments maybe. I got very frustrated, and I can see that watching it back now. I wish I could say to myself, oh, shut up, don't say that, you know, go back to bed, or don't drink that, or, you know, just keep your mouth shut. But, you know, like anything, you're 27. And yeah, hindsight's a great thing, you know.
What I liked is, and because this industry is meant to destroy you, and having that inner confidence. I mean, you know, you come across as, you know, a bit arrogant because you. But having said that, everybody I've ever met who's been incredibly successful has had to have that inner confidence, and you had it then. They tried to knock it out of you, but you seem to. You know, I like the way that you stand your ground.
You don't know what that means?
I don't.
If you then win and get a record contract,
I've got 12 songs that say. I mean, I'm ready to go with that as well. I don't get your point.
Well, I would have thought it was all too crystal.
Didn't get a chance to comment on it.
I did the first time you said it. It's just. I mean,
it just goes over your head all the time.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I remember watching a Billy Joel interview, and he said, like, he wrote a song called Shades of Grey, and he said when he was young, it was like he was just so confident, everything was black and white, and the older he got, more shades of grey come into the equation, you know. And I feel like that. I watch that back and I think, wow, I believe everything I say there. Maybe some of it's a bit defensive because maybe I'm talking about these songs I've written. They weren't any good. You know, I couldn't write a song back then, but I had so much confidence and so much passion, I think was the word. I think that confidence, maybe passion got mistaken for being overly confident and cocky, but maybe I was just so ready for it. I was just like a greyhound in a trap, you know. I've been desperate for this opportunity, and I wasn't going to let him put me down. I wasn't going to, you know, I just felt like, yeah, I wasn't going to stand for that, you know, which just wasn't going to take it. And, you know, and we had to fight. We didn't have a music department in my school after, you know, from O level onwards. So I've always had to fight to do music. It was never, you know, everyone said, oh, what's your other job? Or what, you know, it's like, what, you know, what else are you going to do? And it's always been a fight. So I thought, I'm not taking this anymore. And it just caught me it's sort of the stars aligned when I was at my sort of most arrogant and like passionate, and I'm not taking this. Maybe enough experience, but enough naivety sort of met in the middle. And that was a nasty clash with Richard Parkes, as he said, because yeah, he just took an instant dislike to me, and it became personal. So I thought, well, I'm up for the fight. You know?
The students rehearse for the live show. First up is the trio of Remaining Boys with the Beatles classic From Me to You.
Is anything I can do? Just call me and I'll send it along with love from me to you.
To go last week on a song that wasn't really reflective of what I am about and wasn't really as strong as I thought a song I could have got given. This week I've got a perfect song, like I said, so if I go, it would marry up very well if I went this week.
Well, And a woman.
The lyrics are very poignant.
Now and forever.
Sorry, James. Truly appalling. Not in tune.
But Richard Park and he said, "Oh, you're just a club singer," which immediately put that down. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's been quite a few successful club and pub singers over the years. Tom Jones being one, you know. And yeah, I just thought it was unnecessary and just mean and just, and there's 9 million people watching on a Saturday, and you stand there and you take his, not criticism, but abuse really. And you haven't got a microphone and you just have to stand there and take it. So then you go back and then you got to wait another week to see him, you know. And if you do catch him, then you think, right, I'm gonna have this out. You just sit and stir on it because you've got nothing else to do.
I didn't agree with Richard's thing of James being a pub singer. What I think that James is, that sometimes doesn't really cut through on a programme like this, I think James is an entertainer.
Yeah. Okay, so you have that opportunity, and I mean Eurovision. Now I didn't get to the final. I gotta say I did Song for Europe with Terry Wogan, and you know I have it on YouTube now, and it makes me smile, and it makes other people smile. I've got hair, and I dance, and it's, you know.
Yeah, me too.
But it was a great experience, you know. And I sometimes think we can be, as in the arts, we can be a little bit sniffy about different things.
Right.
Yours had a lot of credibility about your entry. Really, honestly, it looks good. The video looks great. You know, it looks like you're having fun.
Now that I found that someone I believe in, and I feel so complete by your side. It's the only time I've ever loved somebody, baby, in my life. We gotta hold on to our love tonight.
It's kind of, I mean, it was, like you said, it was one of the best weeks or periods of time in my life. You know, when do you ever get to represent your country in music? You know, there's that. And as much as we laugh it off, you take it, once you get there, you take it very seriously, and the press take it very seriously, you know, and especially all the European press. It's just such a big thing to be involved in, you know. And Sony Records were involved. That's what, because we did Fame Academy on the back of it. The BBC said, would you like to audition for what was the Song for Europe? As he said, it became Making Your Mind Up, the sort of 6 acts. And he said, do you want to be one of those 6? And my manager was like, oh, I don't know, you know, maybe there'll be a backlash because you've just come off a BBC TV show to do another one. They might think you've got an advantage, and I might, you know, come back and bite you. But it's, yeah, I got through that, as you say. And it was, I entered it because for the first time in a while, Sony Records said that the winner would get a Sony record deal. So, I mean, even the chance of that, with all the worries that we had about Eurovision and what that could potentially mean going forward in terms of credibility. You know, you do 2 sort of TV contests when you're a musician and you've done it the hard way. It looks like selling out in a way. But yeah, well, we weighed it all up and thought the Sony record deal was worth taking a stab at it. So.
The United Kingdom next. Let's hope he can do it for us. James Fox.
Yeah, I remember being told as I was walking on the stage by the sound guy in Eurovision, he said, I think there's over 240 million watching, and I was walking on with the guitars out. Cheers. Not like I wasn't, you know, nervous enough. That's just done me. Yeah.
Maybe I've been foolish, letting you down. I've been a little selfish, not being around. But if I lost you, I'll be helpless inside. We gotta hold on to our love tonight. 'Cause now that I've found that someone I believe in, and I feel so complete by your side. It's the only time I've ever loved somebody, baby, in my life. We gotta hold on to our love tonight. We gotta hold on to our love tonight.
Good reception in the hall, good performance from James Fox.
Funny thing was, I didn't get to the Song for Europe. I did it was called, I don't know, whatever it's called. It was the British version, like Making Your Mind Up. And I remember being in the loo, before going on stage, before the final contest, I remember thinking to myself, I'm either going to sing this song every night for the rest of my life, or I'm never going to sing it again. And I think that's probably was the case. I don't think I've ever sung it again. Do you ever do that a song now?
It's funny, not so much the song, but obviously, like, as we're chatting now, I don't think you can do an interview. Once you've done something like that, you're part of a small club. Is it 60 years it's been running maybe? You're one of 60 acts maybe that have done it. You do things like the Weakest Link Eurovision special, or you get rolled out every year to judge the other contest by some TV show in Iceland or something. You never get away from it, and I'm happy about that. It was something I look back on, actually not a bad result.
United Kingdom, 8 points.
Hey,
Royaume-Uni,
about time. That's off to Dublin and Johnny Logan.
Cyprus, 10 points.
It didn't set the world alight. It sort of, I wanted to pitch a song that I'd written for it, but they wouldn't let me, but it was a nice song. I knew it wasn't a winning song, but I thought, it's okay. So happy with it.
Okay, so it is weird because then you presented with lots of different opportunities or doors closed. The West End, again, it's almost like a completely different artistic pigeonhole to get into and then actually to get out of as well. How did those doors open to you? Was it a positive decision? Did somebody come to you? Did you do an audition? How did that start?
Yeah, interesting, Mal. Everything sort of went, as soon as you do a TV show like Fame Academy, once you're in that shop window, that Eurovision happens straight after that, pretty much. After about 3 or 4 months, then you get selected for that. And then literally Eurovision was a Saturday. Sunday morning, my manager had a call from Bill Kenwright's office, the producer, and said, we're doing a tour of Jesus Christ Superstar. Would he like to be Judas? I'm like, no. At this point, I had no idea what musical theatre was. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know what Jesus Christ Superstar was. It was no idea at all. So when he said, I said, I'll tell him I'll do it from Jesus, and not knowing anything about the show. So yeah, I'll do it, but I want to be the main part. And he said, it's kind of like the show, if you've ever seen it, is the last week of Jesus' life told through Judas's eyes. So you can argue you are the main part. Tell him. I said, no, I want to be Jesus. It's like a stubborn 27-year-old, come off a TV show with a big head, But in the end, they convinced me. And they just give me the job. I didn't have to audition. I mean, this is the chaos that comes with those TV opportunities and things like that. I think I went in and sang at some point, but they'd already reeled off the posters for the tour. They just put you in it, and so there was a lot of resentment from the cast at the start, because these guys, now I know what it takes to get anywhere near those shows in terms of training and the hardship that the actors and people go through to just be given it. They didn't care about my 12 years of workingmen's clubs. That wasn't the actor, darling. It wasn't all that stuff. So I just sort of got landed in this, but I had to sort of earn my stripes then. So the reviews came in and everything was going really well, and slowly but surely they warmed to me, and then that musical theatre took a decade then of shows. Just so everything sort of snowballed from Fame Academy into that. It's crazy.
It's a tough world, isn't it? I mean, I know because friend of both of us, Steve Bolstrom, was Jesus.
We were chatting about that tour. Exactly, he was going to be Judas, and I was going to be Jesus at one point on that very tour, but it never happened.
8 shows a week carrying a cross. It takes it out of you. It takes it out of you physically, emotionally, spiritually, with your voice, all of those type of things. Did you last the course?
No, I was broken. I was spitting blood at times. It was because I wasn't a trained singer. So like you say, 8 shows a week, especially in that register, when a lot of it's shouting, and you got to be able to control that. I'm screaming at Jesus every night. It was a lot of those scenes are quite. You've got to be able to know what you're doing, and I didn't. I wasn't looking after myself. I was still sort of dining out on the celebrity of Fame Academy and Eurovision. So you roll into another city, I'd probably be out and about on some night. Now, when I do a run now, I live like, drink water in bed by 9 o'clock, but back in the day, I was probably in nightclubs till 2 a.m. and then trying to do a matinee. I didn't look after myself. It was, and without my dad passed away during that run too. So it all got the content. It all got a bit much for me. The fame, the people waiting at the stage door, the sort of the expectation that I had to be on, even if I wasn't feeling too good because your name's on the poster. There was a big pressure on me to do that. I wasn't coping with my dad's death, and the fact that this is a pretty dark show. You're watching Jesus on a cross every night. hang myself every night. It's hardly the thing you need when you've got to be. And I was dealing with the fame too. It was a lot at that time. So I sort of fell apart during that run. And 6 months into it, I opted out. So we sort of fell out, Bill Kenwright and I. He didn't really appreciate what I was going through. You know, the production was his main thing that kept going. And I like the day my dad died, he asked me if I was going to be on that night. So, that was the start of the end of that relationship.
Yeah. So to the other shows, maybe more you, if you'd done Billy Joel in the clubs, in the working men's clubs, to actually be Billy Joel and Billy Joel in America.
From Jesus Christ Superstar, I met Tim Rice and we became very good friends. And he said, look, if I can ever do you a favour, let me know. So I waited an hour, called him and said, look, there's this show on Broadway. I said, is it Billy Joel? Because he's the only reason I got into music is Billy Joel, man. That is it. I saw him at a concert. I said, that's what I want to do. So Tim sent an email to the producers, and luckily enough, they were looking for someone for the Broadway run and the US tour. And within 2 weeks, I was in the job. You know, it was, and to be doing that a month later in Billy Joel's back garden with the majority of that band at the time were his band. You know, that I still pinched myself that happened. You know, it was, that's fate. That's incredible. You know, that one opportunity. I feel very lucky to do that. It was a dream gig. I'd still be doing it now. You know.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet him? Did he turn up to any of the gigs?
Plenty of times, yeah, and they never told me he was coming. Once I went into the dressing room in Florida. He was doing a gig in Florida, and we were on tour there. And the night before, it was my night off. He'd seen me, you know, he'd seen the show, and he said, "Just do your own thing. It's great, you know, whatever." But he said, "You got to come in." And I am not coming in on my night off, you know. And they said, "Come in." So I came in. They said, "What? Go in your dressing room." And I said, "You know, stop ordering me about." And I walked in, and he sat in there. So I'm like, "Oh God, all right."
Wow.
And I think I just froze. You know, that's actually the first time I met him. Yes. Yeah, I think I said thank you for the music like about 40 times. I didn't know what to say, you know. I just and he's a very cool guy. He's very humble, and he didn't sort of offer up anything to make me feel any easier at that point. So I'm glad we had a lot more meetings, because by the end we were fine. But if that was the only time I met him, it'd have been a disaster.
Yeah, amazing. And then other opportunities to be other world famous rock stars. Paul McCartney.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better.
For a right-handed guitarist, what's going on, right? No, there was a guy in the show. There's two of us. The Italian guy that looked exactly like him. He's incredible. He is a right-handed that spent 10 years training himself to play the other way around. So,
oh my goodness!
I'm not a career Paul McCartney impersonator. I'll leave that to you. You know.
Yeah.
No, but they were, apart from the obvious with being right-handed, the audience and the critics are very forgiving. It was there. When I got given that job again, I'm like, you mind? I can't do that job. You know, you can never be Paul McCartney. The Billy Joel thing was because I had so much love for the music and I knew it backwards, and you didn't have to be him. You put your own stamp on it. It was fine. But with this is you're never going to get this job right. You're going to get slated. I thought this is a real risk here because. You know, there's people that do this for a living. Paul McCartney impersonators. Why are they not up there? You know, but I got given the gig, and it was amazing to do that in London and New York as well. Every night was a challenge, and what a brilliant songbook. And then you really, once you get sort of inside all those bass parts and how well crafted all those songs are, it's phenomenal stuff. And every night was a real challenge. I didn't miss a night of that. That was a lot of fun.
I'm going to come back to that in a minute about that whole experience, but you know, in between it all, you're flying out to Afghanistan. You're doing all this stuff with the force. I mean, you're not the forces, sweetheart, are you? Well, I suppose it depends. Yeah. You know, it's a new world. It's the 21st century. But when you go to Afghanistan, you're asked to do it, and you're asked to entertain the troops. You know. how close to the front line are you? You know, what was it like? What was those experiences like? And, you know, does it change you?
Yeah.
Dust and sand and heat, landlocked in the grip of silent night. No way to retreat, I find them almost longing for the fight. Ooh, and how I wonder, will I make it back to you? Ooh, and how I wonder, do you live each day as we used to do, never needing any words, to be sure of love, to be sure of life, but I need your words tonight.
It certainly made you not complain about your dressing room being cold in the West End when you got back, or like a leaky pipe or something. It brought you down to earth, you know. But I think you called upon the whole experience of the working men's clubs, those gigs. So I'd get there. I did 10 years in Afghanistan, over 100 days, actually well more than that, Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, everywhere. But the Afghan ones in particular, it'd start off, depending on which conflict we were in, because this spanned like a 15, 20, or actually maybe time with the military. We do a gig in the big bases for thousands and thousands of people with a full band, and then by the end of it, about maybe 5 years ago, the last time I went, we went as far forward as you can to the forward operating bases, literally where we get dropped off by a helicopter in the places where they're launching the attack, where they're sleeping on the, you know, in a tent. As close to the action, right on the front line. So it's just me and the guitar and a comedian that would just entertain these guys in these makeshift tents, maybe 10 to 30 people, and we'd just be dropped off, you know, and they'd be firing over pretty much like from here to over there, you know, like within a couple of meters of where we were. So that was pretty real. But weirdly, you don't think about it too much when you're there. You feel safe weirdly because you're with the British military, you know, some of the finest that we have. And you see the power of music, man. You see how important it is that we did that and how we boosted the morale and how appreciative, especially when you play to audiences. Not that every audience doesn't appreciate it, but some that sort of take it for granted that they get live music on tap. When you're out there singing to 10 military, you know, guys and girls in a tent in the middle of a war zone, and you see them tearing up, you know, and you're singing like Wonderwall or something, and they're all singing along. That's when you think, wow, what a gift this is, and how powerful music is, you know.
Yeah, well, great stories. And then, you know, coming back and doing those massive performances with the whole orchestra, the whole band thing. I mean, you know, when you get those experiences anyway, I mean, you've had a lot of chances with big bands, but when you've got the orchestra and you're singing there at the front, that's powerful. That's wonderful, isn't it?
I can feel it. Something's happening in the air. Something just beyond compare to any other night, I swear. I can feel my heart is beating much too fast. Now the time is here.
Oh, yeah. You know, if I had any hair, it would stood up. You know, it's one of them. It's a real... And you think, yeah, all these... You just don't want to let these people down because these are proper musicians, you know. I've been sort of winging it with a guitar, you know, and the piano for years, and then you just stand there and you feel very... I just honestly, Mal, from a piano bar or in Blackpool or a workman's club, just, you know, it's like just to be doing what you love, and if you're getting paid for it as well and people are enjoying it and you're among like-minded people, it's a real gift, you know. I'm just very, very lucky.
Now, then, there's a part of your life that you've talked about in the newspapers and stuff, so I'm not betraying any confidences. You had a run-in with a gambling addiction. When did that start?
I guess you could probably trace it back to a very early age, you know, because obviously I had a lot of therapy and spoke to a lot of people over it, you know, and they can trace it back to my dad was in the fruit machine business. He worked for a fruit machine company back in the 70s and 80s, so I was always aware of these things. You know, it's very funny how these seeds get planted very young. But I think the downside of these amazing opportunities and tours and jobs that we do is that you have a lot of time on your own. You know, that's the downside, you know, especially on like maybe the Let It Be tour, the Beatles show is a 2-hour show and you're 22 hours hanging about in your hotel, you know, in cities that you don't, you know, you just stuck around him, really. And if you got a laptop or an iPad and you're prone to gambling like I was, suddenly it just started to become more and more of a problem, so much so that I think at the height of it's probably spanned a 10-year period where it was a real problem. I used to gamble all the time. Growing up in the valleys, it just, you play cards, you'd be in the bookies. It was always something I did, it was just what we did. But mine then, I'm one of those people, I don't like to lose a pound. So I'll spend £100 trying to get it back. It's just not the right person. And they prey, obviously the gambling company prey on people like me that they know once they've got you in, they'll keep you going and keep you coming back. It got that bad that in the Let It Be tour, I'd be still betting while the show was running. Sometimes I'd even have the iPad behind the Vox amp, and I go back, pretend to be Paul McCartney. Thank you very much, everybody. Walk behind and press a bet or press something, press auto bet and I'll just check the balance because I'd have it on like an auto bet system sometimes. Yeah. It was absolutely insane. I was getting good reviews, but yeah, I was an absolute mess. The total, I wouldn't sleep from maybe Friday till Monday, and I do 5 shows in that time, and the shows were fine, and and I wasn't. That's the dangerous thing about this addiction and many others. You just can't see it in people until it's too late sometimes.
I mean, because they often say, I know John Hartson's, worked with footballers who, again, I suppose is a very similar lifestyle. This intense and very intense, like doing a show, like you do a football match, and then you've got all this spare time, and you're a young man, and you haven't got responsibilities. And when did you face it? When did you, address it?
There was a few times, but I think during that tour, when you already spent your week's wages and you're borrowing money, you're lying to the rest of the band saying, "Oh, has your wages turned up yet? No, that's funny, mine hasn't. Can you lend me this amount, I just want to go and get, food or whatever, pay the hotel bill." And then they give you the money, then you're gambling that. It's just lying and the guilt. My mum came to visit me, and she, when you do like a 3-year run in a show like that, 8 shows a week, you lose weight, you're a bit exhausted. But I think she looked at me and said, what's really happening? And I just sort of broke down and told her, and I guess the guilt and the shame of it all, stops you from doing it. But it was a massive relief. That's when I faced it for the first time. But it's a tough one to beat. Mm-hmm. And even if on the road to recovery, there's 6 months go by, and then you find yourself back to square one. But touch wood, 2 years, over 2 years now, and I really feel like that is behind me, and the writing about it and the talking about it, keeping myself accountable, helping other people, and just facing it full on has really helped me. And people have come up to me and told me that my stories helped them. So if one person did that, man, it's been worth doing. So it was a tough time. It was a tough time. Yeah.
Now then, I have to declare a personal interest here. I am a Swansea City supporter.
Oh, hang on, where's the offer?
I've written a couple of songs for the club over the years. Most of them have sunk into obscurity. Yours will never do that.
Unlike your club's flying.
Fly at the moment. Hey, well done. You're nearly at the playoffs position. He's done it. Mick McCarthy. He's done amazingly, hasn't he? Mick McCarthy. There we are. He's
unbelievable, isn't it?
Funny old game football. But your Cardiff City song will live forever. A song for the FA Cup. Again, obviously they know that you're a massive fan, right, and to record it, and and for it to be so successful, and to have it sung at a club, at your own club, that's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Well, you know it too well. We obviously laugh and joke about the rivalry, but yes, if you can combine football and music, I mean, your two passions like that, and have the fans singing it back to you. We've had 30,000 maybe at the stadium, whatever it was, and all singing the song back, and the players in the video. That's incredible. What like I said, just very lucky times, and fond memories I look back on, and that'll always be there, won't it? A lot of people blame me for us losing the cup final. Mine, it was my song's fault, but it was a lot of fun.
lots of people have enormous success, and it's a trajectory that goes up and up and up. And, you know, they do have a story to tell. What I think, just chatting to you now, you have such a remarkable, intricate stories of highs and lows. You know, at the end of the day, you can collect as much money as you like, but you can't collect these stories unless you live them. But it's not over. You got the new record out. I mean, the video is really, really interesting as well. How did you manage to do that? Was that all done in lockdown?
It was when the restrictions were at this sort of the sort of lowest that they were during that time, and the girl in the video is my fiance, so that was
congratulations.
That was an easy bubble to create. And the video director Rhys Davis, I met through Steve Balsamo, actually, lovely guy. He made sure it was all sort of COVID secure, and we did it, you know, under the guidelines at the time. There's a little window of opportunity that we had to do 3 videos. Actually, we recorded another one for the next single that's yet to come out, so we just got away with it. I thought if we get them all done now, sort of racked up as it were, then you know, we have them good to go for the following months. But like you said, what other plans can we make right now? You know, it's great that we can release music, and that I didn't spend the year twiddling my thumbs. I did something, and I have that to release.
So James, looking back at that lad in the Fame Academy who had so much passion and fire and anger in him, what would you say to him all these years later? Would you change things?
I look back and I think, well, what an opportunity. If I'd have not enjoyed the party life and not enjoyed all the things that came with that, and was a bit more focused on music and practicing, I'd have been a lot better, you know, and that opportunity maybe would have, you know, got me X, Y, and Z. But then when I think about how lucky I've been since that, I can't fault that at all. It was, you know, I've been very lucky. You always like to go back and think, oh, my songs are way better now. Well, I think, you know, they're certainly better than the ones I was writing then. What if I could have gone on? Because every week there was a songwriting contest, and you got to sing your own song on the Saturday. And I always came second with that. So I thought, well, maybe I could have, you know, if my songs were better. But we all go through different stages. I had to do all the performing side of it at that age to be ready for that. And then the writing came later on. So I wouldn't change a thing. But I do find it difficult to watch, but I wouldn't change it.
No. And it has prepared you, wait for the link now, for the rest of our lives.
There you go.
All the best with the new record as well. Thanks, James.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mal. Cheers.
Something